Oh, it's a 1098.
All right, guys, welcome everybody today to Creators One-on-One. Today I have a t-shirt roundtable. This is super important. Stuff like this doesn't really happen, so I have some special guests right here. Stan, introduce yourself a little bit.
I'm gonna give you guys my regular intro.
Right.
How you guys doing? I'm Stan Banks with T-Shirt Side Hustle, and I hope you start t-shirt business from home or wherever you're at. Could be anywhere in the dorm. You can find me on Instagram at T-Shirt Side Hustle, and also on YouTube under Stan Banks with T-Shirt Side Hustle.
Man, that's a super cleaned up intro. My name is John Santos. The YouTube channel is From the Ground Up, and we assist entrepreneurs to build brands that impact the world from the ground up. You guys can find us at John X Santos, and we're excited to be here, man.
Awesome, dude. Super glad to have you guys. The main goal for us, guys, is always to build a community of entrepreneurs that are winning and dominating with our print-on-demand products and all over the world. So this is the thing. It was super impactful to have you guys right here, and I just wanted to kind of have a chill conversation with you guys, and kind of the main intention here is to bring some value to people, right? People that are starting.
Mm-hmm. So. I like it. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me.
So let's talk a little bit about Stan. It kind of fits in with people getting started, right? Maybe if you could tell a little bit about your channel and how you inspire people to get rolling.
So I kind of attacked my story, right? And here I was, a guy always trying to figure life out, always doing some kind of different hustle to figure out life and just to make it by. And then when I was 27, I ended up getting a job, and I thought I needed insurance, the health benefits, or whatever the case was. I get a job working for $10 an hour. And I realized, wait, how can anybody survive off of $10 an hour just as yourself?
Yep.
And I had a kid, so at this point it was just well, this isn't gonna work. And luckily I had these hustles, so in my mind it was hey, well, if I didn't have a hustle going on, which happened to be t-shirts and photography, whatever it was, if I didn't have something else going on, I wouldn't be able to make ends meet. And that was something that I felt hey, well, if you were in a similar situation, I know a lot of people leave. I had a college degree. My friends leave college and end up working for jobs that they could have got without the college degree. And now they expect you to pay these loans back, and you got to also take care of your life, and you're barely getting by paycheck to paycheck. So if you were in that situation and you needed a side hustle, I felt t-shirts was something that I got into. One of my hustles that I didn't have to sell. People were just naturally coming, the money was coming, and it allowed me to get by. So what I ended up doing was saying, hey, I'm gonna start teaching people this. Teach people how to make shirts, and that's where my YouTube channel came from. And I really just wanted to help people make money to take their kids on a vacation if that's what they wanted to do. Never $300 a month just to make the bills hit less hard.
Yep.
Different things like that, man. And so I set out to really chase impact and help people improve their lives.
I love it.
That's awesome. I got my start with. So I was 19 and I had an idea for a bag product. We wanted to make a full customizable backpack that you can interchange panels, colors, designs, and it was essentially going to be a legacy product that could change over time by just changing our fabrics. And so at 19 years old, my family, my dad came here from Mexico. They worked construction. My mom worked at a factory, and background-wise, I didn't have anybody to look up to in terms of business. So I went to the community college route because I didn't want to go into the university route because that was going to be expensive. And I was very blessed and fortunate to have found a really good mentor in the college who was a professor. He had a strong background with management, big companies, and I pitched him my idea, and he said, "Hey, let's get started on this." So next thing you know, I was writing business plans, and I started to actually look at it as a way I can actually start this business. I don't have to wait till I'm 30, right? So a lot of times back then, you had to think. It was very hard to start a business. It wasn't like it is now. You don't have the e-commerce and tools that you had before. So I got my start by doing it, and I learned a lot of hard lessons in the process of manufacturing, sourcing, fabrics, working with suppliers, navigating the entire industry from the ground up in a sense. Lost a lot of money, banged our heads a lot. We got some really cool products. We had some distribution deals in the mix. Those fell through. we finally developed new product lines that actually took a hit, that actually took off, and we ended up getting on Steve Harvey's Thunderdome and like really getting to experience like, holy shit, this is what success could look like. But even after that, like over the years, you make all these lessons, you learn all these things, and over the years it compounds, right? Like you essentially have all those losses of the business have accumulated, and even though you've had some success in recent years, you have to pay back all those debts. It's not like they just get erased, you know. So in a way, I look at it as our first business as a big learning experience. It was like my master's degree in business and entrepreneurship, and it's allowed us to get to where we're at today. And now we run the media company side. We train entrepreneurs in doing the things the right way versus taking those hard hits the first time. And we continue to develop new product lines and things like that as well for them. So yeah, I think getting started was the most important part. If I would have waited till I was 30, I probably wouldn't be doing this today, you know?
Yeah, on the job training.
On the job training, yeah.
Man, and dude, that's the thing. A lot of people, I always tell, because I've been like posting more and more, right? So we're manufacturing digital printers, right? I'm pretty much the only CEO that's doing this right now, and we're like dominating against like big brands that have been around for 100 years. They're still trying to figure out how they're gonna post and how often on their feeds, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is how do you inspire people? And the biggest question I get is like, hey, how do I start? And my number one answer to people is like, start. Doesn't matter. Like, oh, I can't start because I can't start. It's because this happened. It's because that happened. You know what? Like, just start.
Mm-hmm.
Start something because you got to fail a little bit anyways.
And you always got the right to change your mind. Right?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
You know, like,
Yeah.
I can just name off from middle school Pokemon cards,
Yeah.
selling ringtones, learning to fix computers. Now fixing computers, I try to do web development, like photography. And photography was what got me into t-shirts. You know? But I always got the right to change my mind. My mom always was like, well, you never do anything long enough to be successful at it. Like, and I'm like, nah, I just know that's not for me now. Like, you know, I tried it, I attempted it, and then that's where I was kind of like stuck in the t-shirt lane. It was like, okay, this is cool. I get to be a little bit of creative. Customers, I don't have to like go hound people down for business. They're coming, they want things, and then I'm making some money too. So it kind of like allowed me to keep afloat. But if tomorrow, if I felt like this was no longer the thing for me, then I would go do something else.
And that's, I think that's key. Yeah, and I think a lot of times people have anxiety to change, right? Like whether they're in high school, now they're thinking about what college should I get into, what should I study, and it's like, no, in high school you should have been just trying shit and failing, like that's how you know what you don't like, you know, like. And I think a lot of times people want to do one thing and be successful at it when they have to realize that they have to do one thing and fail at it, and then you find out what you like, right?
So
like
the three of us give everybody out there permission to start today.
And
start right now. Stop
Start right now, baby.
And
Just go make that first purchase of equipment, whatever it is. Just know on the other side of it, if, at the worst, it's a lesson. You can figure out, like, hey, I didn't want to do this, or hey, I need to modify this. And, those lessons are going to carry on no matter what else you do.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
the big thing, man.
Definitely.
That's what I got from your story. Like, I learned this, I messed up this, I lost money, but at the end of the day, those things are going to help me, like, make better decisions in the future. And then eventually, if you stay at it long enough, something's going to be successful. Whatever it may be, you may never know. I never thought I'd be doing YouTube. I never thought I'd be making shirts. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, you start it and then you figure out where you go from there.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the main moral, guys, because once you compound every year of learning, like, so I've been at this for about 16 years now, right? And yeah, the studio looks nice, everything looks nice, but
Like
it's a grind. It's a grind year after year, right? So you guys got to start somewhere. And the number one rule, everybody's consensing right here at the round table, is to start, guys. So make sure that you get stuff going, whatever it is, for whatever budget, and make some money. Make some money, flip it, right? So.
And I think another interesting thing that I've noticed about you, Victor, and about a lot of other people I've had a chance to sit down and talk with, is that when it starts to feel uncomfortable, it means that you're starting to grow, right? But when it starts to feel painful in what you're doing, in regards to like you feel like you're cramped, you're like, oh, I need to make the next move, that's when you have to make the next move. And right,
Yep.
and for you, it was moving into this 30,000 plus square foot facility from a 6,000 square foot facility. Like seeing that is like less than the size of this office.
Yeah.
And
No,
now
seriously.
it's like, you know, 10x that almost.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
so making those kind of moves, I think it's always uncomfortable because you're putting yourself in a stretch, but you think about it in a very financial and smart way, which I think is a really cool feature about you.
Yeah, you got be uncomfortable. You know, like 2 years ago, I had like 2 followers, and like one was my mom and one was my wife. You know, and they're like they didn't even look at my shit. You know.
Man, did you,
We all
you don't like
start
my
from
new
zero. we all start from zero, man.
Yeah,
we all
right?
start from zero.
And so the idea is like, all right, I'm gonna push out there, show people like what I'm doing, have success stories out there, so to see how they could do it, and then I'll get some followers and grow it like that, right? So, and try to get that blue check.
check mark. I know somebody. You know, people just pay for that check
Yeah,
mark. now.
shit, man.
You can't even get it. You
I
gotta
only
pay.
want the green checks.
Yeah.
the ones that come in green.
Yeah.
I can hold off on the blue one, man. You can impersonate me all you want.
Get the green.
Yeah, no question.
So,
No
you know,
question.
I always talk about, like, and I've been trying to get some hints from these guys, because a lot of times I do this so I could learn. So these guys are mastering YouTube. So maybe start with you. What can you tell us about, like, YouTube, how it can, how somebody could do it to grow their business? Is it necessary, and all that, you know?
I think for me, you can do it in 2 ways. You can become the leverage, or you can leverage other people. So for your business, if you're strictly talking about business and not teaching what you do, you got to leverage other people. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is, the other day, you know, I got a sign. I opened my sign up, and now people want signs, right? So now a sign company who made that, they can leverage my affiliations in order to help grow their business, right? And in the midst of that, there has to be a currency exchange. People always want to get out and say, oh, well, you're making money, or you're doing it for this reason or that reason. You know, in the beginning, I wouldn't say it was hard, but I had to like fight that. Like, hey, well, I've talked about this product for 2 years, didn't make a dime. What's wrong with me making some money off of it? So you got to have some type of integrity with what you do, right? You got to be out with the right intentions.
Yep.
Especially in the world today where everybody's putting up a get-rich-quick scheme, or some scheme to say, hey, come make $1 million, give me 5,000, and I'll show you how to make $1 million. But, you know, as long as you have the right intentions and you're consistent, everything else will take care of itself.
Yeah.
And it's all about content, man. It's stories and everything. You got to be a storyteller. I think about how I'm going to tell the story of, you know, hey, today I'm here and I'm traveling and I'm doing this thing, seeing what's out there. All of that stuff is really, really important. You know what I mean? But ultimately, I think the secret sauce is being consistent. You know, you don't have to be perfect. You know, like you just said, the studio didn't always look like this, you know. I didn't always have a sign. You know, I didn't always have that great intro. It was like at the end of my video, I'd say happy printing.
Yeah.
Because I felt like it was the right thing to do
Yep.
at that time. But as you get rolling and you start doing things, you kind of figure out who you are and what your intro should be, and you learn more, and then you modify it, and you know, you start with an iPhone and you upgrade your iPhone, and then you get a camera and you do all of these things. You just got to start where you are, what you have, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah. And would you say, like, the people should whatever they're doing have a channel?
I think so. Like, I wholeheartedly try to tell everybody around me, you're a student trying to be a nurse, you know, share the journey of what is going on, because, you know, at the end of the day, people like the information, but over time they gravitate to who we are as a person.
Yeah.
You know, I try to be myself, and sometimes I curse, sometimes I might curse you out, but I do it from a good place. And, you know, if I'm not the right person for you, maybe he is. I feel like all of us creators, and as you do it, everybody has a kind of like a lane or a mission or a way, you know. John might not be the person to go in depth and say, hey, this is how you use a vinyl cutter, you know, but I may not be the person to reach out to the masses and get them interested in being an entrepreneur in the first place, you know? So I feel like I feel my role, he feels his role together. That's why I like to collaborate and go out of my way to do it, is because, you know, we all have our roles to play in the journeys that we're on. And as long as we're going in the same direction, you know, You know, why does it have to be him versus me or what this guy likes? That who resonates with you? You know, I appreciate him for helping people, and you know that's all that matters.
Cool. That's cool, man. What do you think, John, when it comes to YouTube? Like, I mean, because you guys know all the tricks. These are like I'll say the top nerds. I'm a top nerd in what I do. These guys are top nerds.
I would say, I would say I'm a kind of a YouTube nerd. No, you know, we had the chance to be a part of the YouTube Next Up, which was a big like YouTube training that they bring you in for a week, and they like behind the scenes, how do the algorithms work? How do you blow up a channel, right? And what I quickly learned is that essentially there's 4 main types of channels. Like it doesn't matter if it's beauty, apparel, if it's science or tech. There's really only 4 main categories. And those categories are, as a creator, you're either creating content and people follow you based on a persona, meaning like you have the persona and that personality that people just want, that are just gravitated to.
Yep.
So those are like the Casey Neistat or like the Mr. Beast or like the PewDiePies, right? Like people watch PewDiePie just doing games and he's talking and people find him funny and relatable, right? So they follow him for that. The second type is more of an entertainment base. So you're more of an entertainer. This is music. This is more of artists. This is more of content that's entertaining and engaging in that sense. And then the third type is essentially the informational, which is more the how-tos, the styles, right. So like that type of content. And then the fourth is essentially news and reviews, meaning like you're covering topics that are out there, and you're curating content. So this is like that guy Evan Carmichael, right? He was more of that style of news/reviews. So you always have to think about which of those 4 do you fit in, like naturally, right? Are you more of a behind the scenes, I want to be able to bring the news and reviews to you. Maybe I'm not so comfortable in the camera, but I have a lot of insight and I can review new product lines, like these are the shoe unboxing, new product unboxing, right? You can get creative with how you do that. You know, or even whether you're that or whether you have a good persona and people always are engaged with you, they want to talk with you, they find you funny, like maybe you highlight that on your channel. Maybe it's not so informational with like how you're going to build this brand or how you're going to build this t-shirt. And then I think you have to start with one of those first, and then you have to think about what you have around you, immediately around you.
Yes.
So don't go out of your way to become a YouTuber or a personality. Like you just have to start with what you have. What this means is that if you want to be a space review YouTuber, right? Like you want to do space reviews on YouTube. You might have a computer, you might have a couple of pieces of content, you watch a lot of documentaries, so now you know exactly what to pull and you can create behind the scenes type of content, right? But this doesn't mean that you go out of your way to visit a NASA facility and now you're trying to like create content around space that you can only do one time, right? You have to create content that you can do continuously to begin with. So you start with what you have and then you figure out what you like, and people will follow you for one of those 4 reasons. And I think that you do an amazing job with blending and more of the informational as well as a persona. Like you have a persona, people follow you, they find you funny. You're able to relate to a lot of people that are watching you, and then you also bring the informational aspect to it. So I think it definitely evolves over time. You start with one, and you can break into a couple of different things as you go on.
I'm gonna add to that real quick. One of the things that I say right now is like you can go from being average to influencer. You can go from 2 followers to 16, 15, 20,000. You don't have to be an athlete. You don't have to be a comedian. You just have to care. And this quote, I think it was from Les Brown. I keep saying I can't remember specifically, but it was, if you help enough people get what they want in life, you in turn will get everything you want in life. So that told me that I already was a coach. I already did all of these things. It told me that if I helped more people, and I would get what I wanted. And I didn't really know what I wanted, but now here I am 4 years later, and it's like that single thing was like, that was it. Like, hey, this told me to teach from my situation right now on how to make more money, how to make a little bit more money to make life easier. And now I help people, and now I went from an average person. Here I thought I was going to the NFL, play college football player, all of this stuff. And then it's over. That dream doesn't happen, but you can dream in other ways of a sense. And now I was just an average guy. I'm just a regular guy. And now I go places and I'm recognized and stuff like that. My friends find it funny, but I was just an average person. I started helping people improve their lives, and now you can become an influencer,
Exactly.
and you don't have to already have one of those skills that people tie to you being famous, right? You don't have to be an A, B, and C list. I say I'm a G-list celebrity at this point. G-list.
I like it. I like it.
We're G's right here.
Yeah, that's why I picked it. But it's far enough down. Like I get recognition, but I'm still myself and stuff like that.
But
So
you're
it's
still
like,
a G.
yeah, no question.
Well, that's the thing. So be authentic, have a story, and then like pick the topics, do the things, and then be consistent.
Be consistent with it. Don't just do one thing and then go off the map. Just keep doing it. So like when I started, I was sharing with you, I started with a little camera that I got, and it would turn off every 10 minutes. And the thing was, it was about as far as this thing
Yeah,
is.
you gotta go.
And I was like, literally, I kept having to look to make sure it wasn't like turning off. So I kept blinking like, yo, is that little light on? So all my videos, my comments are like, yo, you blink like 1,000 times.
Oh, man.
I
I was saying, all right. I kept saying, all right.
You didn't have C's right there. That's why, bro.
If I count out how many times you said all right, like listen, I'm gonna work on it, but I'll take that if that's what you go. If that's all you got for me, I'll take it and I'll get better. So, fortunately, if I don't say all right anymore in my videos, but I was getting killed for that. You know what I mean?
You know what? You, honestly, like you gotta embrace the hate. At some point, you gotta be. You know what? Like, if the way I look at it, because it's super easy to hate on me, right? So one, because it's like, you know, I'm just starting off with this journey of like, you know, influencing people and like getting the community together, right? But if you're not getting hate, right, then you're not doing it big enough. That's how I look at it.
That's true.
It was definitely.
That's true.
And then once you get to a certain point, you got two choices to make. A lot of people I talk to, because I asked, like, you know, I asked Reyes, I asked different people I talk to, like, how do you deal with this? Like, how do you deal with this and not being able to respond to people and the bad things that come from what they say, whatever the case was? Most of them ignore it. Me, I meet it head on. I'm giving you my phone number. Call me on the phone right now. Let's go live and let's address your problem. And then it really, the three conversations I had, it turned out to be nothing to do with what I was doing. Just that they were just unhappy. You know what I'm saying? And usually, if you're nice, I can, you know, I kind of meet people with the energy they meet me with. But usually you can solve your problem. But, you know, they try to push that off onto other people, which isn't bad, you know, but at the end of the day now, you're at the point where you can monetize even the hate. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's sit down and have a conversation. Let me listen to what you had to say, and then let me give you my perspective. You know, what I'm gonna tell you, Victor, is people don't know what you care about.
Yeah,
they always
true,
got an idea of what you should do and tell you how to do it. You know, if money isn't a motivator, oh, you should do this to make money. Well, you tell me I should do this to make money, but you don't want me to talk about an affiliate link, but I need to make money, or all of these different things, but I don't care. You know, if I don't care about that, who says I have to do it that way? You know, maybe I'm just happy making $10,000 for the whole year, and I get to live free and happy. Now I know that's a little drastic, maybe like $40,000, but I'd much rather make like $40,000 doing my way than making $80,000 and clocking in and not being happy and being miserable. Man. You know, happiness to me is the ultimate goal, and then you know you gotta set things that you care about. You know, I care about my kids having experiences and not going through some of the things that I went through. So you figure out why you do it and make sure along the journey of whatever it is, YouTube or your business, that you take care of that why. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I didn't always used to get my kids everything they wanted for like going back to school or something. So one of the joys I had is like, go get whatever you want. It don't even matter. You know, should I get this one or this one? My daughter's like, well, Dad, this chair for my room is 40 and this one's 80, babe. Whichever one you want, you get now. So, you know, but I wasn't always able to do that. But we have to, you know, attack the whys and keep it going. You know, those things are, remember why you started and why you're doing it. And if ever you get off track for your plan, you can always refer back to that and be like, well, I had a plan to go this way. I got a little bit off track. It doesn't feel right. Let me get back over here and do that thing. So
Definitely.
I like that. I like remember the why.
Remember, that's powerful, because that's the only thing that's going to drive you. And if you start doing things outside of it, then it just brings you down that same path, that like clocking in, right? Like if it doesn't align with why you started, then it becomes a job on its own.
And try to do it around what you love. Makes it not work, man. This ain't work going like, it's not work that I get to teach people how to make shirts. I enjoy doing it. I love to do it. And now I get to teach people right around it, so I get to bring them that joy. But for me, it's not work, because now it's like, I love doing it anyway. You know, it would be unauthentic for me to go talk about dogs.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's unauthentic. I don't care. I don't know about it. But if that's what you love and you do, you figure out how to make money and do it around that. Especially YouTube.
Yeah,
Especially YouTube.
that's actually a really good point because a lot of times people go and chase the dollars, right? They chase
most
the
viewed
next
video
thing,
or
most
whatever the
views,
case is.
Or
yeah.
like, hey, I want to start this product line because this is on trend and I want to do something with dogs. Like, that was a great example. I want to do a collar for dogs, a line for dogs. And it's like, do you like dogs?
Do you have a dog? Do you even have a dog? Like,
I just thought I'd pay influencers for their dogs. And it's like, so you're doing this just to, you don't even care about dogs.
it could
Yeah.
work though.
It could work.
For you. But
But it doesn't
eventually
go
you're going to hit a
that
wall
long.
and be like,
Yeah.
I no longer want to do this. And
Exactly.
you may have more money than you started with. But ultimately, man, I think everybody just got to be fulfilled personally, man. That's the huge point.
Yeah,
That's
you
the
gotta
main reason
you
start.
gotta get the wins because I gotta tell you guys, like, when you're having a journey, right? And entrepreneurs seem sexy, right? You post the Lambo or you see it, the Range Rover, you see all that stuff, right? You're like, damn, I want to be an entrepreneur. But the reality is, if you don't have that why, if you don't have the like that important, like, bam, I'm gonna hit it on Saturdays and Sundays, because it's extremely hard, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's extremely hard, and like, people that are rational will be like, fuck it, I'm out. I'm gonna do something else, right? So you gotta really have that spirit and that why to be able to do it, because especially to make it big and to do it like, we were talking about decisions, right? Making the proper decisions every month, every year, for years is very difficult, and keep winning is very difficult. So it's got to be important to you guys, right? So,
And if you do it for the lifestyle, that's definitely the worst place you could start. Like, if I can go out and buy a Lambo right now, rent it, lease it, right? Or I could put myself on a payment program for $1,500 a month
could
and
put
own
one on
it,
layaway,
right?
yeah.
But it's like, I wouldn't want to do that. It doesn't make me money.
Yeah,
Right? Like,
it
what's
doesn't
gonna
make
me
you money,
A
and-
studio space.
and,
an
and
office.
remember, guys, we're actually gonna talk a little bit about money in a little while. So stay tuned, because I always say, if you can't write it off, don't buy it, right? So we're gonna talk a little bit about
This guy's
that.
a man. This guy's a man. You're gonna want to
for-
listen up.
with you guys. So make sure you stay tuned, because it's super important for you guys. It doesn't even matter if you're starting, you're in the middle, or you're like, doing it big. You can always learn about money, right? And so we're gonna talk about that a little later. So I want to talk about a little bit about, all right, when you're starting your t-shirt business, right? And you're saying, hey, you know what? Where should I start? We're already telling them to start, right? So where should they start now? How do you do it?
I don't believe it's a one-size-fits-all answer.
Yep.
I think you got to look at what your end product you want it to look like. You initially have to have that idea. Do you want to make custom shirts? Do you want to have a brand? You can kind of like dumb it down to those two. Then what's your budget? Like, how much money do you have? Do you have $0? Okay, let's figure out how we can get a little bit to get you started. But what I found was I started out screen printing. I was riding that machine, standing in my closet trying to screen print. Couldn't get this floodlight to burn the screen, and had a friend working at the art department would burn my screen. We print on the floor, so I did all of that stuff. And then I walked into a shop, and it takes a lot of people along this journey to help you out. And I'm gonna do the work regardless. I'm gonna take the stairs, but if you let me ride on the elevator with you for 2 flights, and I'm more than happy and gracious and appreciative of that. But I was doing all of this stuff, and then I was like, okay, I'm making my photography. I'm making my photography shirts, and people were like, well, I want to buy it. I'm like, well, why you want to buy my name? So first it was like, wait, I sold a dozen, I sold 2 dozen, I sold 4 dozen Stan Banks photography shirts. Oh, wait a minute, hold on, wait. And I was like so shocked at this that people were like, I didn't want to sell it, but I did. So that kind of like got my feet wet to it. So now I'm trying to figure out, hey, well now can you make my shirts? Well, I know where to get them printed. She's charged me $8. I charged them $9. I was making $1 a shirt, but I would charge for like artwork or stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I would usually get like $80, and I didn't have to do any printing. So now it's like that was the first step. People want it. I know where to get it. Let me make a little bit of money, and I'll figure this thing out. So the next thing, I took a step to supply my shirts. Okay, I added that. How much you gonna charge to supply my shirts? Now it's gonna be $3. Perfect. The shirts are like $2, so now I can make a little bit more. And then it's like, well, if I bring you 100 shirts, how much you gonna charge me? $3. I don't care how many you bring me, 100 or 1,000. So now I'm like, well, I got to be able to get it down based on the volume. So when I walked into a shop, and then I walked into the shop, and this guy's my substitute teacher. And next thing, and that's where it really all started. Like 2 days later, he's like, you want to print? He fired a guy, you want to print? He's like, I don't know how to print. I've been trying, but it's not been successful. So he gave me an opportunity to print. My first job was horrible. It was like all 4 and 5X shirts, and they were all crooked. Prints were perfect, but they were crooked. Now I had to learn this. The guy brought a trash bag. It probably was a 100-shirt order. He probably brought 70 shirts back in the trash bag, all crooked. So I'm like, man, I don't want to have this experience. But then I had started a brand, a little niche market around black colleges and universities, and I was doing the printing. If you could get your school up to 12 shirts, I would make a screen and I would print as many as I could possibly print. Then I was like, had people at these smaller schools that and maybe they can get there, so I got a vinyl cutter. And I looked at the vinyl cutter and I was like, why the hell didn't I start like this in the beginning? But I had the same preconceived notion that everybody has is like, well, it's heat press, it's an iron on, it's gonna come off, whatever the case was, but I needed to do these one-off shirts. And that opened my eyes to like, this was a better way to start because this heat press, I don't care what size the shop is you walk into, they got one. You know what I mean? So now my equipment won't necessarily go bad unless it breaks. But the lessons you learn about what you can only do a one color design, and that's color separation. You don't know it yet, but that's color separation for screen printing. I can't print this full color image. Now I know like this is digital type of print. Now I can evolve. So I feel like a vinyl cutter for me was the most knowledgeable piece that translated to go everywhere. You know what I'm saying? And that'll eventually lead you to like full color DTG. That'll eventually lead you to like, hey, this polo doesn't look of quality. You might start using flock, and now I want to get into embroidery and outsourcing and all of that stuff. I wish I started with a vinyl cutter in a sense. So that's what I started to teach. And people ask me now, like, well, why you don't do a lot of screen print videos? Because I don't feel like that's the best way to start. You know, I had a headache with all of these different products and stuff, man. And so, you know, that's one angle, customer shirt angle. And then the t-shirt brand, you know, I like Niches Bring Riches. I have a book called Niches Bring Riches that I wrote.
I like that. Niches Bring Riches.
I figured out with my black college thing and then my Delaware thing that I did is like, wait, you can make a brand about anything. All you got to do is care about something. So whatever it is, your weirdest hobby. You know, I was into snakes for a while. My first YouTube channel was about snakes. So I got one video with 26,000 views. The rest of them is like trash. But it all came down to like, if you care about something, you can use shirts to make money. You know, so whatever your interest is, football, dogs, whatever, you can use that to make money. And I kind of like tell people, yeah, you can start a brand, a generalized brand, a fashion brand, and you just gonna have to work to build the brand up over time. But if you start with a niche market, you can get the experience and make money so fast because you care about it. All you gotta do, birds of a feather flock together, is insert yourself into that community, start interacting. You don't even have to go in there and say, hey, I make shirts, I'm selling this shirt, selling this. Matter of fact, I kind of suggest you don't do that. Become a part of the community, and then over time, as you start answering people questions, people start to become recognized, you just start to wear your stuff, and then you start to put your link at the bottom, and people are like, oh, he answered my question. Let me check out what John has going on as a person, because now I know you helped me out. You know, you told me that, hey, you should probably feed your Yorkie this kind of dog food, and then I clicked and see who you are, like, who's this guy answering these questions? Now I go to your Instagram. Oh, snap, he makes shirts just for Yorkies? That's my kind of guy, if you know, in that sort. And I found like that formula was a nice way to start a brand and get training, but it's an easy way to make money. I find like start building a brand about nothing and just thinking everybody's gonna buy, it's gonna be the next cool thing. I'm gonna be the next Johnny Cupcakes or whatever the case is. I ain't trying to discourage anybody, but I know that's a harder route. And I just want the easy route and, you know, kind of learn on the way.
That's awesome, man.
That's amazing advice. I mean, in my perspective, starting it from, you know, more of on the cut and sew route, like that was something that was super intricate to begin with.
Yeah.
Like, we have to learn about different machine, tension, fabric, pattern making, how the patterns adjust based on the fabrics and the tension of the machine. A lot of failed prototypes. We worked a lot with zippers and little buckles in order to make it interchangeable. Learning that zippers change based on temperature. So if somebody makes the same exact zipper, they make it in Japan and they make one in Mexico, it cures at different temperatures based on elevations. And now that zipper won't work with the other zipper. So that ruined the customizable idea, right? We're like, oh, we thought we had it. But then, you know, you waste $5,000 on zippers, right? And you learn very fast that you can burn money really quickly if you have an idea and you think you are going about it the right way. So that's kind of where the channel started, and what I always tell people to, what I always advise people when they say, how should I start? For one, definitely find a good niche and something you're passionate about. Because if you're passionate and you know enough about it, you could talk about it in different ways, and you can show it in different ways, whether it's through the photography, through the content that you make for marketing, through the designs you print on the shirts, or whether you print it on a backpack. You could become more, you're more thoughtful with how you approach that business versus trying to go out of your way to learn something, and now it seems inauthentic. Like, the person that's really living that lifestyle is gonna be like, yo, that's whack. Like you saw that in a collection from 3 years ago, right? Like, you thought that was recent, but no, this is a new shit, right? So if you go about doing something that you don't really know, it's not gonna work out right out the gate until you really learn it. The next part is about leveraging, like, the biggest thing that wasn't around when I started was like Shopify. Things like Shopify and like Wix or Squarespace, those are game changers to e-commerce. Like, the first website I bought, I had to pay somebody to do it, and I got quotes. It was like $800, $1,200, and then somebody was like $2,500, can do everything you want. And I was like, well, let's go for like the 20. Can we do for 2,000? Because like I had a $20,000 budget. I got a personal loan, so I went to the bank, got a personal loan that I was gonna buy a car with, right? Because I had a decent job at the time, and they put the money in the account, and I was like, wait, can I start a business with this?
I want to do right now. I got the money now.
So here I was, 19 years old, 20 grand. I'm like, all right, I budgeted for my brand, and ended up with spending it all. Finally making some products. But you learn the hard way that you can spend money really quickly if you're not thoughtful about what you're designing, what you're creating. So the biggest thing is leveraging other platforms like Shopify, I always tell people Etsy's a really good route, like, especially if you're doing handmade or like very artisan type of products. We have a lot of people in our audience that's women creators, right? And they have like such amazing crafters, the designers.
I feel like they're the most talented people in our industry.
They
are the artists of what we do.
They are.
And just connecting that business side to the art. Like, at least if I got a hobby, it should break even. It shouldn't be an expense. Is the way I felt about all hobbies. Like when I bought a snake, I'm like, yo, I'm gonna breed these things. If next thing I got 12 of them in my college dorm room. All my friends find it funny, but in the long run, I'm like, I'm gonna breed these things. Eventually, you gotta pay for yourself. You understand what I'm saying? So I definitely, like, crafters are like, oh man, I just talked to them like, man, how did you get the idea to come up with that, to make that? It's just like amazing that some of the things that people can create out of nothing, you know?
So you have those crafters, and channels like Etsy are a great platform because like now they can position their product, and you tell them, the photography, the lifestyle imagery, like apply that to a website, and apply that to your Instagram and social media, and it'll self-promote and people will talk about it, But a lot of time I think artists get stuck in their head too, where they feel it's not ready or perfect. And that's also something that they have to break out of. They have to realize that it's never going to be perfect, and they just got to do it. So
yeah, that's awesome. I mean, we just I think it's coming in the next couple of weeks. But we recorded a creators one-on-one. One of our customers. I actually met her in the back, just picking up her second machine, and I asked her about her stuff. And she's on Etsy, right? She's doing like she's a mom of 2 girls, and doing it from home. Doing like some like crafty stuff on and just printing it. And when we had her on, I'm like, sometimes I ask these questions. I'm like, hey, so how much you making? And it was like 30 grand. 30 grand for the month. And I'm like, oh shit, dude.
Yeah.
You got on Etsy, dude.
I think the lesson here is like find a platform for you, right? Like find a place where whatever you have going on is gonna sell. If there's no platform specifically, you can make your own website. But if you have something and there's a place or an ecosystem where that stuff lives, just go there. You know what I mean? And then you just figure out how to separate yourself in the midst of that, man. You'd be surprised at what people are making and the things that they're selling and different things like that. But if you talk to people, it's crazy. I really believe you can make money doing anything, man. If you like freaking shoelaces, you can make money with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, especially right now. When all this stuff started happening in April, I told Serge, hey, you know what? We gotta start going live because we want to make sure that people go on e-commerce. Like, I don't care what you're doing.
Right.
Like, get something up. Get it up on Shopify, get it up on Etsy, use our work platform, do whatever, right? Get up there. Like, what can you guys say about like e-commerce and how people can do it? So they
Me?
can get up there.
Sorry. So for me, I feel like I used to play the game, the PayPal game, man. You know, internet don't sleep. So when I was doing my black collar stuff and I had the Straight Outta Compton movie, that's what I was doing. The Straight Outta Compton movie came out. And before that, I was against trends. Like, I wasn't chasing the trend. I wanted to build something that would last. So I had this idea that I was sitting on for like probably a year and a half before, like, what am I going to do with this thing? And the Straight Outta Compton movie came out, and I started creating the names straight out of this school, straight out of that school. So it went viral. And then I was just like sitting outside. And before I blinked my eye, I was like probably over 700 orders behind, right?
Oh,
and it's just me and my girlfriend at the time. And I'm like, I'm printing the shirt. She's reading me off the size and color and all of this stuff. Which design? I got 6 screens up. I think I started with 4 screens. Yes, she's like reading it off. But I'm putting it on the dryer, and it's going through the dryer, and she's packaging it as it comes off the dryer. We just knocking it out. I'm so far behind, or whatever the case was. I didn't really run into like refund problems because we like worked like probably like 4 days straight. I went to the post office, small town, shut the post office down. They told me I can't come back. Like, it was like then but it's like throughout this whole journey, like I like really want people to understand that it's no right or wrong way, and you're not gonna figure out the true questions that you need to be asking until you do start.
Yep.
You understand what I'm saying? So when it comes to e-commerce, it's like the world doesn't sleep. You know, it's time. I'm just learning time zone. I got to figure out, oh, this person's in this time zone. So there's time zones already, but I'm shopping at 2 o'clock in the morning. Somebody else might be shopping at 4 o'clock. And if you don't have e-commerce, you're losing money.
Yep.
You know, that's the biggest thing is like, no store hours. No, it's no 9 to 5 and, you know, whatever the case is, you can literally make money in your sleep and then get up and fulfill your orders or whatever else you have going on. But having people be able to just do the most important thing, find what they're looking for, click and purchase. Forget all the other stuff. You know, I started with a big cartel website, and I just had those things. I didn't know it was quick. You know, and people could buy. There was no like shipping calculation. And I think somebody ordered like probably like 30 shirts, and they had to pay the $5, and they're like, so their shipping fee was like super high. But whatever, I don't know what else to do, and that's the only way to do it.
Yeah. And
then I learned like, Shopify, weight calculations, and all of the other things that you got to do. You know, e-commerce is like the way that is really what gives us the power of, you know, competing with big companies and different things like that with our niche and making $30,000. It's all e-commerce.
Dominating your own niche.
Yep.
You know, what can you tell us about e-commerce and your experience?
So in my experience, e-commerce is obviously a platform you're going to sell, right?
Yep.
But it's also the best place to showcase what you are about behind the scenes, right? So a lot of times people think about their brand and them being separate, but in a way you are your brand if you're creating something that's personal and you're passionate about. And I think e-commerce is a great place to showcase that in regards to what it is, who is behind the making of that product, and how did that product get made. Right now, transparency is one of the biggest things that people want to see. They want to see, where is my product coming from? Where is it? Like, how is it being created? Who's behind the brand? So whenever I shop for anything, whether it's this T-shirt or shoes or anything, I'm always looking at the about. I'm like, who is this company? Is it a drop ship company from China? Like, I'm paying $50, $60 for this shirt. It better not be a dropship company from China, right? So I'm looking at it. I'm looking at the creator, and he's screen printing. He's doing the tie dye, and I'm like, yo,
stories, man. You get attached to the story.
It's attached to the story. He could demand a $60 price point for his product because of that. The shoes, same way. Like, yo, who's behind the brand of the shoes? And it's like, yo, it's the guy that was behind Fila and Adidas, and you're like, yo, I want to support that brand because he's on the come up. You know, like, so I'm always about championing entrepreneurship. And a lot of people are about championing the next brand and the next creator. And if you're not highlighting who you are behind the scenes and what it is that you stand for and why it is that you set up on this mission, you're really missing a lot of money on the
Ooh, I love that. I love that. So that's why it's awesome to have like different people with different point of view. You know, Stan saying like, hey, get out there, do it. Make sure like people are shopping at, you know, you can make money at night. And you're saying, hey, yeah, go out there and make sure that people know put your about, make your story, why you're doing it. A lot of times you put the stuff up and then you like you put coming soon on the story shit, right?
Yeah.
Don't put coming soon, dude, because I'm gonna close it.
It should be ready and tell the story.
Yeah,
right?
right.
Tell the story of why I should buy from you, what it is. And that's the same thing,
Yeah.
It's like that's your niche, right?
Yep.
Because I get attached to your story. You get attached to my personality as a YouTuber and the different things like that. The more transparency you have these days, the better off you are. So when I started in college, I was doing, my company was SB Design. I'm like, what can I name my company so people don't know it's just me and I can feel like I'm big. Nobody wanted to do business with a single person.
Yep.
Today, it's like the opposite. You know what I'm saying? Like, I switched Stan the creator. You know what I'm saying? Like, like everything is like, now it's like so, it's now cool to be yourself and be all of these things. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day. So, the more transparent you can be, the more you can show behind the scenes. And yeah, people might take your ideas, but they still from Nike, they still from the biggest brands, they still from whatever they see. And my thing is like still like an artist, man. Take all of that inspiration and take 6, 7 ideas and formulate your own idea and put it together and become who you are, you know? Kobe Bryant became Kobe Bryant trying to be like Jordan, but in the midst of trying to be like him, you can impersonate, you can copy the same mannerisms, but you can't quite move the way, you know, your shakes just aren't the same. So now your fadeaway might be the same, but now you got this other move that's totally different that you came up with from your experience. You know what I'm saying? So you got to use people's experiences to build it, and then you become yourself in the same sense.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, I remember, so when I started, so it was just me, right? So then I was like working on the machines during the day, and I would print at night, and I would have like, dude, I had like all these email addresses, and I had like, you know, the voice over IP and then like several extensions. Yeah, for support, press 1. Yeah,
it's all coming to you.
It's all me.
It's all coming. Hey, this is I just talked to you over in sales.
No, I think that was our administrator, Betty. I remember Betty. So I had an email that was like Betty at.
Oh man, my mentor did that.
Yeah, dude.
He did that in real estate.
Yeah. Oh man, I don't know what happened to your order. Let me talk to Betty. I'm gonna give her. I'm really tell her what's up. You know. But you know, back in the day, like people are not gonna take you serious. You got some sort of structure. You know what I mean? That's true. So like a lot of the times, like right now, it's like so sexy to like be a one-man show. I think everybody's got to take advantage of it, and like. You're not being judged anymore about like being at home, doing it in your living room, like all that stuff is like out the window.
No question.
You know, so everybody's got to take advantage of that right now. You know, we talked about like doing it from zero and all that stuff. Now, and I was telling the story earlier when I was just starting up, like I was printing at night, and then I happened to like start getting a lot of orders, right? From college bookstores, and then like it started getting kind of hectic because I couldn't keep track of it, and then I was like, dude, I gotta figure something out, and I was just showing you like what we've done with automation and all that. Like when people are in the middle and they're already getting orders, like how are you coaching people when they reach out, like about the workflow and getting their stuff together when it comes to that?
So I look at it right now, and I've been on this. This is what I've been saying this year. You know, the goal is not just to work hard, right? The goal is to work hard and also enjoy the reason why you work hard. Yep. So I look at it from the way that I teach people. You do it in stages. You learn the customers, you do all of this stuff, and then eventually you're gonna realize like I can only make 4 shirts. I can only serve 4 customers in an hour, and my max is like they're $25 a shirt. I might be making like $80, right? Yep. Now, if you in a place where you need overhead and all of that stuff, you're gonna get to a point where you realize like I need to make more money, and that's when you start to explore out, right? I call it getting tired of doing customs. So now you're getting tired of doing customs. Now what? So you can then in turn, you know, take that same heat press and get some transfers done, and now you can increase from 4 shirts in an hour to 50 shirts in an hour, but you don't make as much per shirt, right? You can start to move for volume, and now it's like, okay, I'm making $5 a shirt, but you just took that same hour, you did 50 shirts for $5 of profit, now you made $250 in an hour. And now you go get a school and they want like an Under Armour shirt, which use like a sports tech shirt for $3. It doesn't really cost you more, but the perceived value is higher.
Yeah.
I tell people that in order to shape that business, you have control over your portfolio, which means you have control over the work you show. If you show a lot of customs, what are people going to come to you for?
Yeah.
Customs, you know what I'm saying? So, but if you start to make those custom jobs look like bigger jobs, which means like, and they think, oh man, I got to print a 50 shirt job. How am I going to get it? I said, no, you only need to print one shirt to make it look like 50. You just need a stack of shirts, right? Like that perception of different things. And it's like, are you capable of doing it? If you're capable of doing it, then there's nothing wrong with it. You know what I'm saying? So I tell people, you know, you got to, again, solve the problems that you have, right? You're not making enough money. Now, how do I get more business? I get more business by showing people that I'm capable of doing bigger jobs of a sense. So, and it's the same thing with buying equipment. How do you know what equipment? How do I know a DTG machine is right for me?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, if you already started somewhere and now you're getting questions like, I'm turning down all of these full color jobs. Like, I'm getting no money. Okay, the first thing you do is outsource. And when you realize how much you're outsourcing, and you're like, oh, how much would it be to finance a machine? I'm already making money off of this process. I'm sending X amount of dollars to him, and I'm profiting this much money. You know, hey, well, now I know I sent this guy 50 shirts. He charged me $8. Well, that's $400 that I could be now. How much is that payment going to be, Victor? Let me figure this out. Okay, well, my payment's going to be about $500. Well, can I fork it over? If I had this machine in house, would I be able to generate more business off of it now that I'm more comfortable because I'm doing it in the house? So I really encourage people to, when you start, you're going to ask yourself questions. You might come ask John, you might come ask me, or you might reach out to you and ask the question, but you're solving a real issue.
Yeah.
But if I just sit like, DTG is just too expensive. Yeah, it's too expensive. You know, like, I don't think for a while, you never seen $20,000 at one time. I never even know I didn't even know how to finance or what finance was. I didn't even look at my credit till I was like 20-something. You know what I'm saying? But I can't cry over the lessons that I didn't learn in life. You just got to go learn them. And, you know, sitting and putting yourself in positions like this where I can ask you questions about your experience as a YouTuber. I know I got questions for you about, you know, I see you talking about the money and what to do with the money. Like, well, yeah, you know, I'm making a little bit of money. What do I do with the money? You know, how do I get my first property or something like that? Putting yourself in those positions to ask you questions. But if I never had money, I can't ask you what to do with the money I don't have.
Yeah,
So it's
exactly.
like, you know, I need to come to you and say, Victor, how do I get to the money? You know what I mean? Like,
That's awesome, bro.
Really good point.
Like, what is your perspective on when you're scaling and growing and you're going through that kind of phase? You know, you already started up. Like, what do you got to do next? Because you've been through that too.
Yeah. Well, one of the biggest things is that as you start, you should always be thinking about the next phase of scaling. So at least that's what I tell people, right? So a lot of times when we've manufactured samples of small batch productions, we're like, all right, cool. We got the price points. We know what small batch productions are going to look like. They're going to cost us $17, right? Our retail price point should be at 30, so we're not making good margins, but at least I have a small batch that I can go and promote,
Test.
like how you said.
Test.
Yeah, like we're gonna go sell it to this school, sell it to this team, and then we're gonna see the feedback of that. We're gonna see what the demand of that might be to do a bigger school or a corporation or a company. And then as you're doing that, you should always be outsourcing those jobs to bigger factories. So then now you know, okay, well this factory at 1,000 units is gonna charge us $8. So I now know that if I can get at least 1,000 units, I can get $8, and our sell point is 30. Now we could profit 22. Now it's healthy margins.
Yep.
So whenever you're starting a new product line, you should always be thinking about, okay, what is it costing me to produce in-house or in small batches, and I should start looking to see how I can scale it up to and know what volumes I need to be to start moving. Because the last thing you want to do is launch something, and then you essentially are get a bunch of orders because people love it. And now you're working around the clock for 3 weeks to get the orders
figure the rest,
out.
and they go, but you got to go
And then
figure
figure
the
it
rest
out
out,
too.
right?
Yeah.
How can I get more
Yep.
faster, right?
Exactly. And now people don't want to order from you because they're 2 months delayed, right?
Yep.
So it's like it's about building it right now, but also looking into the future and knowing that if this design pops, we need to be able to supply it. So if I place the order a week from now, like, is it going to get here in 2 weeks, right? So like you also need to know your lead times. And I think that was like super key when we started, especially when we were doing the distribution deals. We had to get pricing from California, so we had to know, okay, in California, we could quickly produce within 2 weeks, we could produce 300 units. 2 weeks, okay, cool, 300 units. If I go down Southern California with a bigger manufacturer, they can produce 1,000 within 2 weeks pretty confidently. If I go into Mexico, they could do 10,000, and I know the prices. If I go overseas, they could produce 100,000, right? So
Yeah.
like I have all these different price points and supply chain started, and you also know you can start looking at your fabric costs. Like at this volume, your fabric costs will go from $5 to $3.50 or $2, and you start looking at the finances, so you know, okay, well now I know how much I need to invest to produce and actually be successful with it. So, so the biggest thing is start small. That's important. Always start with a small batch, but look into the future about, you know, where is, once you get those orders,
Yeah.
quickly maneuver to the scaling side.
Yeah,
I
and
got a
make sure
question.
you understand your numbers.
I got a question off of that. Like, how important is it when you go into like when you talk to manufacturers? All they want is the order. They want you to place the biggest order that you apply. They want the money. They don't even. How important is it to work with the minimums? Like, you know, and to figure that out. Like when you go do something else, a lot of people want to, you know, they want to encourage you. Like, oh no, 10,000. This is this, and this. How important is it to go through that sampling? And the sample fees are ridiculous
Yeah, they are.
of a sense, right? But I'd much rather spend $250 or $300 on a sample than spending $5,000 and you know, get bad products. You know what I'm saying? So what do you think? What's your experience with that?
With the minimums, yeah, for one, sampling is super key. So a lot of times people don't want to spend a couple $100. They're like, for one product, I'm gonna pay $400. It's like, for one product, you're gonna make sure that you're getting what you're actually
it's
gonna pay
insurance.
for, right? Like a lot of these companies on Alibaba or whatnot will tell you, oh yeah, we could send it to you, but you have to 50% or whatever it is. Like they already want to get you they already want to get you for $2,000 without, you know, sending you anything.
Yes.
Right. So you might think it's a good deal because you're getting it for $6, and all the U.S. manufacturers are quoting you at 18 or 19, right? So when it comes to minimums, it's okay that you're overpaying up front, right? So if the minimum is, you know, 500 units or 300 units, and they want to charge you, you know, $5,000, $10,000 for that product, knowing that your sampling fees included in that, it's a good investment for you to at least get the product that you want. So instead of trying to skirt by and go with higher production numbers to bring down the price, you should start with lower production and be okay with paying a little bit more price in order to make sure that you're getting the right product. Because yeah, when we started, we came up with the process of, hey, let's order a lot. Let's order in bulk, because that's the only way we're going to drive our costs down, right? So we were looking at our bags and we were like, well, if we want to sell a $50 backpack, we should be manufacturing them at $15. That gives us a pretty nice margin advertising, right? So we went out and bought a bunch of raw materials ourselves when I should have invested $10,000 into a factory to produce, you know, 100 units. Right. And then that would have been like the best quality product I could have gotten locally versus trying to do all the supply chain myself.
Yeah. Yep.
And just to drive the price down a couple bucks.
Yeah, exactly, because it's a complex thing, you know, to actually source the right thing and then repeatedly source the right thing, right? Over and over and over and over to be able to deliver to your customers. Like, it takes a relationship with that supplier, right? Where they're gonna, it's not just about money, right? So I was telling you about showing you how we're like building the printers back there. It didn't start like that. Like the first machine, like I had to find somebody to build it for me, right? And then the suppliers were super important that you make a relationship with them so that you know you're gonna get that quality versus like, oh, I'm gonna get that money from Stan.
Right.
And then he might order again, he might not.
Don't care. Just
He
give me
don't
the
care.
money.
Yeah, give me the money, right?
That's the experience you get with most of the manufacturers from like clothing industries, Alibaba.
Yep. Yeah. So you gotta be super careful with that. Relationships are super important because we're talking about e-commerce and getting a ton of orders, right? But I have to coach a lot of people sometimes because I call it the kiss of death, right? The kiss of death is when something that you put up and it goes viral and you're not prepared and you get a shit ton of orders. And then now you're calling me, hey, can I get 10 machines tomorrow?
It's like, no.
You know? Or can you guys do them like, dude, help me out. Like we bailed a lot of people out, but the reality is you have to be prepared for that. In e-commerce, you cannot take that order and then not deliver it till 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month later.
Especially because of Amazon.
Yeah.
Amazon made it 10 times worse on all of it. The next day, everything.
Or better because you got like some standards to do, right? So remember, guys, always think about if you're gonna do something, what's plan B? Who's gonna help me fulfill this thing, and all that, right?
Definitely.
So
And it's okay that you leave some money with them because they're going to help you out with that, right? So like you got to take care of the people that are going to make you whole in that sense, right?
Yep.
So you're going to pay a little bit more than you were budgeting, but at least it's going to get done.
Exactly.
And that was a lesson.
And you could drive down the street, maybe you paid double, but you actually got it fulfilled, and you got that confidence with the customer, and now you could retarget them and like get those next orders.
Yeah, I had to bail myself out a few times,
See,
man.
right,
Like
so-
trying to outsource stuff, and you know, you always got to have a backup plan just in case, especially for the big stuff, man. Like having to bail out an order one time. I was outsourcing my DTG to somebody, and this lady had like a rest in peace order, and I'm like, it'll be perfect. I had the perfect design to get it done with DTG, fades and stuff like that of her daughter, like a collage, and the order wasn't going to arrive on time. And I called and I made sure, like, bro, this is for a college memorial. You know, I can't miss it. So I had to take that $700 order or whatever the case was at the time. It was a lot of money to me. And then I had to then borrow money to get shirts, to print it with an inkjet printer, and because they weren't going to make it. And they loved them. You know, I knew the customer wouldn't care. I just felt it would be better to look with the DTG or whatever the case was. But I had to take that loss, you know, on the whole job, just because, you know, that's not a parent that I would want to give a bad experience to because of the situation. But you don't want to give anybody a bad experience. You don't want anybody going online and talking about it. Now, you can't always stop it from happening, but whenever you're empowered, you know, I'd rather take a loss than I would just, you know, that reputation piece, you know. And then eventually she came back and ordered more shirts. So it was like I took the loss in the initial part, and, you know, in the back end, it kind of worked itself out.
I love it.
I think that's the best way to even deal with customers in general. Like, we had some shipping delays when we were out of town once, and we missed the deadline by a few days of shipping the product out. The person was like, "I want my refund. It's been 11 days. You said it's going to ship within 5." I gave her a call and I was like, "Hey, so what's going on?" She's like, "Oh, I need it for my church. You know, we're going to be doing an event." And I was like, "Well, how many people are you going to need to buy this for?" And she's like, "Well, I wanted to give it to 60 people, our congregation." I was like, "I'm going to ship you 60. And she's like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm shipping you 60, like, for free, no cost. I apologize for the delay." And then she was like, "Oh my God, this is amazing." All right, so followed up. We shipped it the same day. She got them, and she's like, they loved them. And she placed another like 60 piece order. And now, like, that's the kind of relationship. You have to be able to lose money up front to build those long-term relationships sometimes, if it makes sense, right? But in that situation, it was our fault, so we had to make it right.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, and it's that return order, and and you got to make sure that you have some sort of process in the back end, right? When you're doing all this free stuff, you got to make sure you got some sort of process to make sure that you're covered. You reach out, you follow up. Hey, how did it go?
Exactly.
Here's what we got, right? So guys, you know, I know that you guys get hungry, but and we've been at it for some time. But I want to bring some value. I told you guys at the beginning for people. And I want to talk about money, a little bit of money, right? So you guys feel free to ask some questions. Why? Because, you know, I grew up in Santa Ana. We really didn't have much, and you know, in California, it's kind of like just say it's a little bit of the rougher areas, right? So I had to learn all the rules that come from money because it didn't come from my family, right? And it came from practice, and it came from all that stuff. So it's important for people to understand the basic rules so they can be successful, right? So, and I learned from mentors as well, right? And how big people that are doing it big, how they doing it, because that's how I learn, and then I invest in that kind of stuff so I can learn, right? So, 3 main things: you gotta know how to earn it. Right, of course, but you gotta know how to keep it, and then you gotta multiply it, right? I would say these are the biggest rules, because it's super easy to say once you're making a little bit of money, all right, I made it, right? Let's say you're making your money on your orders, on your channels or whatever, and you have to know how to keep it, right? So some of the strategies that I use that are super important. Number one like I don't buy things that I can't write off, right? Because it doesn't make any sense to me, right? But and that's super important. So it makes you start thinking about how you're going to buy a certain thing. Oh, the camera or the studio, or the car, right? How are you gonna buy it? Number two, I don't spend the money that I earn, right? So I don't spend the money that I earn. What I do is I start stashing it, right? Stash. And as soon as I can put my next down payment, me personally, I invest in apartments, right? Apartment buildings of 30 units and more. So I stash down payments. Then once I have it, boom, I put it into, I just get rid of it, put it into an apartment building. And then the money that investment makes is what I get to spend, right? I don't get to touch the money I earn yet. It just, you gotta pretend it doesn't exist. You put it into something, maybe in another business or maybe in another investment that then pays you some cash flow.
And that's
right?
what you spend on yourself.
And that's what I spend. And then so those are the main strategies that I use. And then it takes incredible discipline to do that. It's easy when you don't have it to like not spend it.
Right. Yeah, no question.
Yeah, right.
And then you got people around you that definitely spend it for you.
Yeah.
People around you will definitely spend it for you. Ever since where you, especially when everything around you or where you come from isn't you're not around people with a lot of money or something like that. So I guess my question would be like, my goal is to have a kid, every kid I have to have a house for them. So that when they become of age to take care of it, you can rent it out or you can live in it, but you can use that money to live wherever you want to live or however the case. Like that's a huge goal, to just leave something more than what I ever had of a sense. But how do I go about, or what things are important? Obviously, credit, money, like what are the steps to getting that first property? Once you start generating a little bit of money, you know how to make some money and figuring out how you can get to that first property. I would like them to be duplexes. At least.
Duplexes are good. Up to 4, you can do a really good financing. So guys, we're talking about money when it comes to like doing some of that stuff. All right, so number one, you have to make sure that you're focusing on your credit, right? Not because of the score, right? Obviously the score is important, right? But what it makes you do is the credit is telling somebody else that you're legit. You pay your stuff and all that. So everybody, if you guys have some messy ass credit, because I've been there, you got a lot of debt or whatever, credit cards. Like I was even telling Sergio, hey, we should put up some sort of course on helping people how to clean up their credit and like do that up, because it's super important. For real estate, it's very important. And then number two, your credibility to, once you start meeting an agent, real estate agent. I was telling you the other day, an agent doesn't make money until they sell you something, right? So everybody out there that's like online looking for shit and then trying to hit up real estate agents to show it to you, guess what? They're not gonna show it to you because they don't know who you are. And don't call an agent and be like, hey, can you show me like 10 houses and not buy anything? So start stashing your down payment money. When you go to 2 to 4 units, you can do like a FHAs. You can do like loans that require a low down payment, right? Because for example, when you do investment properties of apartments, the down payment requirement is 30% minimum. Most of the times it goes to 40, right? But when you do 4 units or 2 units, it'll be like 3%. So start looking at those and rent them out, because you'll notice that you'll start seeing that cash flow come back for the return of that down payment. And you got to be a little bit careful, guys. Everybody thinks about, hey, you know what? My home is an investment. I want to buy a house. I bought a house in Orange, my wife, and we ended up renting it out and then moving over to the Skyline because it's just too you can't write it off. You can't write off shit, pretty much. You can't write off the gardener. You can't write off like, oh, you're at Home Depot every weekend spending money, right? So it's not really a big time investment, especially out here.
Right.
So be careful about thinking about your house as an investment is going to pay you. No, if you can pay 3% on a duplex or a fourplex, and then every month somebody's paying rent, and they're paying off the mortgage and all the expenses, and you get a little drip, and then you can go and do it again. That's when you really start getting some of that confidence and some of that like that going forward, right? But it starts with credit and it starts with like being able to be disciplined enough to stash it, and then you know you have the goal, you're going to turn it into a down payment, right?
How do you go about, obviously you've been growing your company, you have a couple, 70 employees or something?
Yeah, around there, yep, worldwide.
How do you go about choosing positions and knowing that, okay, I should hire this person and I'm going to pay them X amount of salary? How do you determine the salaries, and then how do you determine that return on investment, or what type of strategy do you have for hiring and continuing to make sure that those people are producing money for you?
You know, a lot of the stuff I told you, I've gone through. I've done it the right way. I've done it the wrong way. I've done it in the in-between way, right? I think the number one thing you always gotta think about is that people will never cost you money. So if you're thinking about ROI, it's the wrong way of doing it. Like, you have to think about how you can duplicate yourself and duplicate your process, so that this person makes you money instead of costs you money.
Yeah.
Right? You're thinking about, hey, you know what? And I get this all the time. Like, hey, I'm trying to hire my first guy, and I'm trying to get him to come in and do some work for free to learn from me and to be my apprentice and this kind of shit, right? The reality is you can't tell him what to do. If you're just trying to get free labor. So there's the thing. Start documenting and like what you're doing, what you want this person to do,
SOPs.
because that person is never going to cost you money. Once you unload some of those things, you're going to be like over there making sure that you're like making money and growing, right? So my first employee, actually my first few employees, I knew that every time I hired somebody, my income was gonna go to zero, right? Because I wasn't making enough to like have all these employees, right? So my first employee, be like, all right, but all right, I'm gonna start paying you. My check stopped, right, and their check started, right, and then the next one, all right, make enough to pay them and the bills and all that, and then the next employee, all right, pay them and the bills, and then the next employee, right? And then that's how I learned, like, all right, I need to make sure that I'm duplicating the process, making a process for sales, the sales team and all that, because they don't cost money if you're doing it right. It's when you're like, you don't have any metrics and you're not paying attention and they're milking it and this and that, and you're just there to like, there's no mission.
Check. I'm just here so I can collect my check.
Yep.
Right.
And you don't have any standards for it, so it's harder to
No.
know.
To even know.
Until you look back.
You're not
But
measuring
you
anything.
feel it, but you can't really say anything because you don't have anything really for them to to go by. I definitely feel that. So in this industry, right, our industry when COVID hit, like the big companies all got scared, right? And I was like, this is the perfect time for us little people.
Yep.
What was your biggest lesson from dealing with COVID?
Yeah, I think so. I've been through a couple like market busts, right? So, like, number one, I know that fundamentally what I gotta do, right? I got focus. My activity level has to go crazy through the roof. And now I'm thinking, all right, I got all these people out there. I need to be able to motivate them to push, because everybody's like, no, dude, we're gonna shut down, right? So I decided to do. I made like one of the biggest web conferences in our industry. That's where creators came from, like Creators Boardroom, and it was about motivating people to get on e-commerce. So my lesson was like, take inventory of what's around you. What do you have? And then number two, what's the opportunity that you see from this, right? So, for example, if I got a lot of people that are entrepreneurs, they're at home, they're in their garage, or they're in a small office. It's not like a big screen print shop that had 100 guys.
Right.
Dude, the small guy doing digital, dude, he's not gonna go home. He's gonna stay working
Right.
because he's still gotta eat. There's no. You're not gonna get no PPP money.
Essential. My business
Yeah.
is essential.
Yep.
That was our thing. We
Yeah.
had like the cops running in our storefront, like, bro, we got to make money, and it's like you don't want to defy it, but it was bad.
So what we did, so the lesson was like, all right, push it out to the community, make sure that people have something. So I literally walked to the back. I called Ryan and Serge, hey, you know what? We need to make a product. We fired up the lasers. We cut some we had like stacks of shirts. We cut we made masks, right? Put them up online. And then we cut a template for people to use them on their printers. Made one on Photoshop. We went live. Like, all right, guys, so here's a template. This is how you put it on the machine. Like you're now essential, right? You're essential. You're printing masks. Do it for your community. And as a manufacturer of printers, like even some of them are like, hey, how does a manufacturer of printers start slanging some masks? You know what? My activity levels gotta go up.
I gotta look for new ideas.
Yep.
Entrepreneurship at
Yep.
its core is
Yep.
like dealing with those situations. I was in the same boat. Like I was gonna stay away from masks, and next thing you know, I'm like, wait, I got a source. Let me get them.
Yep.
And I'm like, wait, I'm making $1,000 a day. You can too if you just start selling
Yep.
masks.
Yep.
One of the
Our
guys.
network made millions of dollars on masks because I know we shipped them, you know. And there's a thing that kept a lot of people fed.
afloat.
And then not only that, they said, hey, you know what? This ain't that bad.
Start thriving next.
Yeah. Now you put your foot on the gas, and then we're like, hey, you know what? I introduced you guys to the chemist. I'm like, hey, you know what? There's no sanitizers. What do we got? We did a formula. We did branding, manufacturing, bottling in a week out of here, and then we're like shipping thousands. We're sending them to the community and all that. Thousands of bottles of Omni Sanitize.
Being innovative, staying on the edge of what's going on.
And remember, but at that point, like you got 70, 80 employees, you know, and I'm thinking
depending on you.
they're
Yeah.
like, hey, what are we gonna do? And I told them, hey, they're telling us we gotta shut down, but I feel we're essential because of these rules. It's up to you guys. Nobody said, hey, I'm gonna go home. You know, everybody's like, all right, let's keep pushing, right? So the main thing is like you always gotta keep pushing. And our sales have been crazy because now all the big shops are shut down. Everybody's like calling, say, dude, what do I do? All right, get on e-commerce, make sure you're getting orders. And they're like, hey, I need my second machine. I need my third machine. Like people are making a shit ton of money at home. And like, it's inspiring to me. And that's why I'm like, dude, we got to do these sessions, show people.
What's possible.
Yeah,
I think it's about showing people what's possible and what's out there, man. I think, you know, basically from what I took from that is like you just didn't panic, right? You stayed poised and you just figure it out. I think that's the true core root of an entrepreneur. Yeah. We all understand like what we do. Once you go into manufacturing one product, you never look at buying anything the same.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't even matter. You could make hand sanitizer. Next thing you know, you're like, well, how much does this shirt really cost? You know what I'm saying? And that's when you start to operate, like as entrepreneurs, we start operating off the stores. Like I'm buying stuff off of stores. I only wear stuff that from people that I know, or you know, if somebody I know, or something that I made myself, or different things like that is key, man. You got to stay poised and never panic in those situations.
And there's the thing. That's why having mentors, learning a lot of these things. Like I had been training, right? So what happens, like if you're a Navy SEAL and you've been training, and then you get gunfire, right? You know, like you're gonna know what to do, right? So yeah, you're like scared. You know, like I said, there's a huge load of families that eat out of here, right? So you're scared at one point, but you also know, hey, you know what? My training says this. My training is gonna go automatic. You know, you got trained. You used to be in law enforcement, right? So there's a thing. You go like that. So I've been just putting my foot on the gas. you know, we just got like Inc. 5000's fastest growing companies in the U.S. 356% growth. Like, you know, the number 32's fastest growing manufacturer in California. You know, we got product of the year for the last 5 years for our direct to garment. That's not like by mistake.
Right.
It's a everyday. Like, you come here on a Saturday, that's where I'm gonna be at. You come here on Sunday, that's where I'm gonna be at. You know, but just the same in a lot of people's shops. That's where they're at, growing at different stages, right? So one thing I gotta tell people is like something that is certain is that you're gonna run into some shit. It's how you react to it and how you push through is what matters, you know?
Most definitely.
That was a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
What do you got for questions over there, Steve?
I've got a few actually.
Yeah.